This is an audiobook created by Relay Publishing, who own exclusive copyright to the story in all territories and formats. For more information, please go to our website, www.relaypub.com. We hope you enjoy.
Chapter 17. Natalie. I'd never felt more beautiful, which was perfect because I'd also never felt more nervous. It was partly because of the $3,000 dress I had on, but mainly because James couldn't stop staring at me, and kissing me, and whispering naughty things in my ear. We'd come close to ripping the dress off and going at it right after I'd finished getting ready for Bernie's big night, but Christopher had texted James about needing him to come down and play host out front, and it was a request we couldn't ignore. I felt quivery and awkward as we made our way from our room to where the party was being held on the grounds. James had given me an overview of the guest list, and it was a who's who worthy of a Vogue spread, from designers to models to moguls, with a few actors thrown in for good measure. I was definitely going to be out of my league. Thankfully, James's mother, Kathleen, had been absolutely wonderful, and I knew she'd be another safe haven for me if I became too overwhelmed by the glitterati. She was a beautiful, cheerful woman in her early 60s, with swingy blonde hair and the same bright blue eyes as her son's. I'd half expected her to be snobby, but she'd welcomed me with a warm hug and introduced me to her partner, Teddy, who looked to be in his early 30s. On paper, they might seem like an odd match, but you only had to see them together to see how happy they made each other. Apparently, they'd met in a support group for families of addicts that Kathleen had joined after Christopher went to rehab. The family cocktail party the night before had been wonderful, but that was a small group, and I already knew many of the cousins and nephews and nieces through work. Most of the Bransons had gone into the family business, though there were some outliers, like James's cousin Kevin, who was a venture capitalist. But I'd spent much of the night chatting with Christopher, who seemed to be working hard to put on a happy face. What we were walking into with this party was something else entirely. James grasped my hand as we came to the French doors that opened up to the endlessly green lawn crowded with people. "You got this," he whispered in my ear. "You're the most beautiful woman here." My heart swelled at the sincerity in his voice. Our relationship felt so real that I had to keep reminding myself that I was playing a part for the weekend. I wasn't his girlfriend. It was all an act, just like he'd done for me with MG, who, thankfully, wouldn't be at the party tonight. I'd checked the guest list twice just to make sure. Whether or not everyone bought into the idea that James and I were a couple, at least I wouldn't have to put up with his commentary on it. "Ready?" James asked, planting a quick kiss on my bare shoulder. "No, but I don't have a choice," I pointed. "Incoming." Bernie had spotted us and was gliding across the lawn wearing a giant smile, waving both hands. "Let's go," James said gently, pulling me along. I noticed heads swinging in our direction as we walked down the grand staircase to the lawn. Obviously, James commanded attention, but I knew that my red dress helped. "Look at you," Bernie cooed, clasping her hands beneath her chin. "The most gorgeous couple here. Natalie, your dress. Incredible. Twirl for me, darling." I glanced around and discovered that the lead character from a police procedural I watched and his model wife were staring at us, along with a crowd of other notable movers and shakers. I swallowed hard and did a quick spin while Bernie clapped for me. "You are stunning in red, and those shoes. You need to wear color more often," she said. "I agree," James said. "But my girl looks incredible in everything." I reflexively reached out to grab his arm, giving it a squeeze. "You don't look so bad yourself. Don't you agree, Bernie?" James was wearing a fitted dark suit that looked black, but was actually the deepest midnight blue. I'd wanted to peel it off him the second he'd put it on. She leaned closer to us. "He looks better than Adam Reynolds." Bernie pointed through the crowd, and I spotted the famous actor, aka People magazine's current sexiest man alive, downing a cocktail, while a crowd of admirers pretended not to stare. We were surrounded by so many famous people. I fought off a wave of stress and lifted my chin. If only the scared little girl clutching a garbage bag filled with clothes could see me now. I could do this for her. I snapped back into reality. "Bernie, we didn't wish you a happy birthday yet." I exclaimed, happy to focus on one of the safest people at the event. She swished her hand at us. Please, everyone has been saying it since yesterday. I'm tired of being reminded I'm another year closer to the grave. I just wanted an excuse to have a party. And to get gifts, of course. Thank you again, darling, she said to James, stroking her fingers over her stunning necklace. That was your birthday present to her? I asked. Wait a second, I recognize that necklace. Isn't it the one from that movie about the heiress in World War II? James laughed. Yes, it is. The movie studio commissioned it, but the jeweler, Veritique, only loaned it to them. They usually keep it in a fancy display case at Veritique's headquarters, but their CEO is a friend, and he owed me a favor, so I got him to lend it out for tonight. And I very much appreciate it, darling, Bernie assured him. Now come with me. Both of you. I want to show you off to everyone. She beckoned us to follow her, and James grabbed my hand. You okay? He smiled down at me. Absolutely not, I whispered out of the corner of my mouth. But what choice do I have? I tripped along beside James, trying to walk with confidence even though my heels were sinking in the grass. We followed Bernie under the big white tent, and I breathed a sigh of relief when we hit the parquet floor. Come, come, Bernie said, walking backwards gracefully like she was turning 60 and not 80. I wondered which luminaries she was going to push me in front of next when I spotted a crowd of Branson employees. There she is, Christopher said, raising his glass to me and giving me a genuine smile. We were just talking about you. A woman who looked suspiciously like Anna Wintour snuck over to our group and pulled Bernie away. I quickly scanned the people circled around us and saw the head of marketing, the social media director, the supply chain VP, and a few other faces I recognized from around the office but didn't know by name. Hi, everyone. I gave a quick wave. I hope it was all good things. Calliope, our social media guru, jumped in. 100%. We were just saying how incredible your couture stuff is looking. I can't wait to get approval to start posting. People are going to go insane. And we can't forget that Nat is doing double duty right now, James added. Not only is she kicking ass in creative, she's also filling in as my assistant. He slid his arm around me and squeezed my shoulder. This woman can do anything. I'll second that, Christopher said. She's been my partner in crime getting our vintage sketches digitized. Without her, they'd still be sitting in my closet. To Natalie. He raised a glass that looked like it was filled with ice water, and the rest of the group joined, clinking in a toast to me. My face was on fire with pride and embarrassment. I wasn't used to this kind of attention, but I sort of loved it. These important people clustered around were celebrating my accomplishments like I was one of their own. It was a foreign sensation after being on my own for so long. I'd never expected to feel like I was truly a part of the Branson family, or at least the Branson work family. We'd joined the toast, but we didn't even have a chance to grab drinks. James laughed, miming holding a glass out to the group. Bernie accosted us the second we got here. Please excuse us. James took my hand and led me to the bar, and I tried to keep my cool as we passed famous face after famous face. I noticed more than a few models shooting daggers in my direction. I leaned in to whisper in his ear as we waited for the bartender. This is a lot. I don't know how I'm going to make it through the night. I'm feeling very scrutinized, like people know I don't belong here. He caressed my cheek and held my gaze, then leaned down to whisper back to me. You're doing great, and you absolutely belong here. He gave me a quick kiss on the lips. And I'm sorry to tell you that you're not imagining it. Everyone is staring at you. My mouth dropped open. I thought I was being paranoid. I hissed back at him in shock, glancing over my shoulder to see if he was right. The women are jealous, and the men are horny. I punched his arm. Stop it. He laughed. I'm serious. You in this dress? Criminal, although you in anything gets attention. I clutched his arm a little tighter and leaned against him. James kissed the top of my head. His kisses were frequent and comforting and exactly what I needed. Each one was a little boost of confidence, like he was trying to show the world that I was here for a reason, that we belonged together. The night passed in a blur of champagne, phenomenal food, and laughter. Little by little I managed to let go and enjoy myself, to the point where I was actually cracking jokes with editorial director at Vogue. I even met the founder of Snug, Declan Bairn, and his wife Olivia. The Irish billionaire was surprisingly down-to-earth, despite creating the biggest social media platform in the world. Apparently, he was a friend of James's, and since he and his wife happened to be in town, they'd been invited to the party. "If this one doesn't treat you right, you let me know," he said to me with a teasing grin. I'll set him straight. "Hey now, I thought we were friends," James pretended to complain. "We are, which is why I wouldn't let you muck this up," Declan shot back. "You gave me the advice I needed to hear when I was about to let someone amazing walk out of my life," he added, pressing a kiss to his wife's temple. "The least I can do is return the favor." I couldn't believe how warm and accepting everyone was being, as if I really belonged here. Despite the divide between my basic little life and the important people around me, I felt welcomed, like I was one of them. It was the last thing I'd expected. Of course, being on James Branson's arm probably helped. Bernie was fashion royalty, and James was the heir apparent. Things got wilder as the sun went down, especially when Bernie and Kathleen joined the younger models for a bunch of line dances, to the delight of everyone. The DJ finally slowed the music down, hoping to get couples on the floor. Beyoncé's XO came on, and I shot James a look. "Do you dance?" He cocked his head to listen to the song for a few seconds. "Wait, is this—" I nodded. "Yup, our favorite artist." "It's not really a slow dance song, is it? It's sort of in between." "I don't care, we're dancing," I said, feeling bold, thanks to the 3 glasses of champagne I'd downed. A few people at our table clapped when they saw me dragging James out to the dance floor. He wrapped me in his arms and pretended to glare at me. "Don't sing, got it? Don't tempt me." I laughed as we started to sway. "You still haven't paid me for that time I didn't serenade you." "Maybe I just need to find some way to get you too out of breath to sing," he said suggestively. "Are you open to suggestions?" I pushed into him, rubbing my body against his. The song had quiet moments and big, sweeping interludes, and to my delight, James managed to match his tempo to the flow of the music. He held me close. Then when the song shifted to a faster beat, he twirled us dramatically across the floor. We were perfectly matched as we danced, our bodies glued together and stepping in perfect sync, just like when we made love. There was no doubt we were both thinking about the way we moved in bed, or in a car, or a dressing room, or up against the wall. I let my hand slip down to cup his ass for a second, and he growled and bit the side of my neck. "So are we dancing? Or can I steal you away?" he asked. "I like dancing, but there's something else I like doing with you even more," I whispered in his ear. I ran my fingers through his hair and he shivered. "Tell me," he demanded, his eyes burning into mine. I rose up on my tiptoes and whispered in his ear. "I like fucking you." The song ended and we peeled apart. "There's a pool house around that corner." He gestured with his head as he trailed his fingertips up and down my arm. I wanted to tease him a little more. "Is that a fact? And what would we do in that pool house?" James pulled me close again, his breath hot against my ear. "Dirty things. Depraved things." He then proceeded to describe them until my entire body felt like it was on fire. I didn't realize that he'd been slowly walking me backwards, off the dance floor, through the crowd and out of the tent until I felt the coolness of the night air brush against my skin. "This way," he said, pulling me along. I was so woozy with desire for him that I practically jogged through the grass despite my ridiculous heels. We kissed as he fumbled with the door of the pool house and didn't break apart as we awkwardly fell into the room once he'd managed to get it open. Everything after that was a heated, delicious blur. Maybe we weren't a real couple yet, but this was real, and for now, that was more than enough.
This was an audiobook created by Relay Publishing, who own exclusive copyright to the story in all territories and formats. For more information, please go to our website, www.relaypub.com. We hope you enjoyed.